Hi. Good afternoon, church. Sorry, I just got a little choked up there. I'm so excited to have Henry here with us. Folks, if you're watching at home, I'm Music Director Brian Sable here at Coraopolis United Methodist Church for our final recital. Henry, no pressure. You know, we've had 22 recitals. Well, you're now number 22. So, you know, what can I say? It's going to be good not to be here next Wednesday. Actually, it's been a real joy. We've had incredible performers, and I've heard some of your playing, so I know that folks at home are in for a real treat. I'm going to just share this feed on my own if you would like to do the same. If you don't, why don't you tell folks at home a little bit about yourselves in the meantime, or about yourselves. You must be 2 or 3 people on the bench, huh? Why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself, Henry?
Well, friends, I'm happy to be here. I've been playing piano since my mother forced me to take lessons starting when I was 11, and that was the beginning of sometimes people say, well, you're pretty good, and I said, well, I've been playing for over 50 years, you know, you should get better in 50 years.
50 years, wow, that's quite
more than that.
Quite a career. Yeah, so you said you started piano lessons
at 11. Yeah, I was on the church piano bench starting in 7th grade.
Fantastic.
Mother the choir director, dad the pastor.
So it was predestined. Were you Presbyterian?
We were Mennonite.
Oh, Mennonite.
Not the horse and buggy kind, but
right.
Kind of more like Baptist, really.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Henry, why don't you go on ahead and tell folks what you're going to play first for us, and I'm going to continue to share this feed. If you're watching at home, we encourage you to hit like and share as well.
Super. Just a closer walk with thee.
So you mentioned you started piano lessons at the age of 11. What did you study, and who was your teacher?
My teacher was a dear Italian man, a barroom accordionist, and Uncle Louis is what people called him. And lessons were in his basement. His poodle would bark unpredictably. I sometimes wonder if it was trained to bark at the wrong notes, but
yeah,
probably not. But no, Uncle Louis, even though he never played for me, I never heard him play the piano, ever. I hardly ever heard him play anything, but I know he made a living playing accordion in the bars. But he gave me everything from Bach to Fats Waller, and
Really?
Sound of Music and My Fair Lady. And he always said he said every kind of music is good if you play it well.
Right.
And yeah, he paid my way to Interlochen a couple summers, the arts camp.
Oh yeah, of course.
My parents couldn't afford to send me there. So yeah, Uncle Louis was a real blessing for me.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
Fantastic.
one more Uncle Louis story. He told me in probably about 3 months into lessons, no, maybe it was 6 months. Anyway, he said, "Son, I think you're going to be a jazz pianist when you grow up." And I was very offended because I knew from my Mennonite background that was smoking and drinking and cards and women and stuff that I did not want to have anything to do with. So
Right.
I was kind of perplexed and dismayed that he made that prediction. It was because I was messing around with what was on the page pretty much from the beginning. So.
Okay, so you play a lot by ear.
Yes, I do.
And so I always joke with my choir, and whenever I make a mistake, I say the notes on the page are just a suggestion.
Absolutely, unless they're Mozart, then they're not.
Exactly. But even then, sometimes that could be a suggestion as well. Well, fantastic, Henry. That first piece, you don't need to play anything else. I'm happy. We can just go home.
Okay.
But actually, the folks at home would be very, very disappointed with that. Folks at home, if you're watching, I posted a link to contribute. All of these recitals, 22 recitals, have been funded by you, our generous patrons watching at home. So thank you so much for your support. Next week at this time, Pat, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Maybe I'll come down and just play for a half hour just because. Who knows? But Henry, thank you so much again for being here. Now you're from the Upper Panhandle of Michigan.
Upper Peninsula.
Or the Upper Peninsula.
That's right.
I don't know. Being from Ohio, we hear Panhandle all the time. UP, Upper Peninsula.
A Yooper.
A Yooper, yeah.
I eat pasties and shoot deer and stuff. Not that I did.
Not that you did, but yeah. So how did that, growing up in that rural environment, how did that impact your playing?
Well, the playing in the church every Sunday definitely impacted my playing, but I had a really early love for black gospel music. Well, probably country preceded that. I listened to Floyd Kramer, who was like along with Chet Atkins and stuff, was on the radio a lot in the early 60s, and the phonograph was about 8 feet from the piano, and I wanted to learn that slip note thing.
Yeah.
So I'd run to the phonograph, like wore a path in the carpet, dropping the needle over and over again, like, what is it, what is it, what is it? But I was going to say, on the black gospel side of things, I would go to the public library and find early artists like Rosetta Tharpe and Mahalia Jackson.
Yeah.
And I was really drawn to that for some reason, even though it wasn't part of our culture there in Upper Michigan at all. And then, of course, when people like Aretha Franklin and James Brown came along when I was in high school, I was thrilled with that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Well, there's just such a vitality,
yes.
To the sound, and it's just pure soul and emotion.
And a lot of it came out of the church.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Not my church, but.
Not the Mennonite church.
No.
We had to rely on the Baptists for that.
But we were kind of hillbilly Mennonite in Upper Michigan there. When my wife first came with me to church when we were like 19, everybody's singing at the top of their lungs. It's not particularly in tune, but
right.
It's kind of like you kind of associate with sung black gospel music. I mean, homespun in the small church in the South,
Right.
Where you're not holding back. You don't say, "Oh, I don't have a good voice. I'm not going to sing."
You sing.
Everybody sings.
Yes,
yeah.
Everybody sings.
That's the way it was.
That my students say, everybody sings in our church, but some people sang.
Oh. Okay.
And if you sang, there's a difference between singing and singing. So, you gotta know the pronunciation there.
I never heard that, but I like that.
But you get it. You get it, and you know exactly what they mean when you hear, "Oh, she sang."
Yes.
You know
Yes.
that they did a good job. Hey, what's your next piece for us?
Well, I mentioned Floyd Kramer. I'm going to play "What a Friend," like I believe Floyd Kramer would have played it back in the '60s.
Fantastic.
was a little raggy.
What a fantastic rendition. Now, Henry, you have a CD, correct?
I have quite a few of them. Yeah.
You have quite a few of them. Okay, now's the time. Plug them. Tell us about yourself.
Forget about CDs, but please do listen to me free online at sharingcomfort.com. It's a resource that has a variety of CDs. 6 or 7 of them are very meditative, especially healing music. I actually designed them especially for people dealing with chronic pain, people in hospice, for nursing homes. They're The Quiet Heart, Eagle's Wings, they're great for people with Alzheimer's that are dealing with sundowning, that sort of thing. And then there are a couple of albums that are more like what you've heard me play so far, Precious Memories and the Joyful Heart. And again, there's no charge at all. Just go to sharingcomfort.com and listen to the streaming. There's also 4 albums I did there. I collaborated with a gentleman in Minneapolis that was often referred to as the Pavarotti of gospel. Robert Robinson is a fantastic black gospel singer, and we worked together for 5 years when I lived in the Twin Cities and traveled. But anyways, we collaborated on 4 albums, and there's also a very different CD that I collaborated with a trio called River, and they were from the Twin Cities, and now they're out of Nashville. But anyways, those are all hymn arrangements, and the album itself is called Hymns. It's not soulful. It's sort of, I don't know what contemporary was in 1990 maybe, but a lot of people still
New
really do
Age-ish, kind of?
No,
No?
not that either, but River's really a good group, and I was happy to record with them.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Henry. So make sure if you like what you're hearing today, you go out and visit that website again. What was?
Sharing Comfort.
Sharingcomfort.
.com. Yep.
Sharingcomfort.com. And thank you so much for putting your music out there, especially with people dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that. It's amazing the research that we're now seeing, the impact that music has on pausing in many ways the elements of dementia and Alzheimer's, and I've seen, I can't remember the exact documentary, but there is a mini documentary out there.
There's one with the name Alice in it. Do you remember the name, title of that one? It's got Alice in the title, and Alice is still, I forget the title. It's on Netflix.
I think that's where I saw it on Netflix. But it just shows this Alzheimer's ward in a nursing home, and people just coming alive. Well, and remembering every lyric from songs from the 30s and 40s.
I have to tell you, Brian, I was with my brother about a year ago. He passed away in October of 2019, and I was with him in August, and a music therapist came there that normally sings and plays guitar, and my sister and I were there, so I played piano, he played guitar, and we all sang, and my brother was non-responsive at that point, but I mean, he's sitting in a wheelchair, but he couldn't speak. And anyways, he sang along to everything. He knew every word, and the music therapist who saw him every week said he's what we call one of the 4 verse ones. He knows all the verses.
He knows all the verses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing.
What a testament to the power of music and to the human spirit.
And he smiled, and
wow.
It was the only way to get through to him.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to play an arrangement that was inspired by my dad's Alzheimer's. That kind of runs in our family, so. Anyways, I was visiting my dad the year before he died, which is like 25 plus years ago, but he took me out to the country cemetery. Well, he wanted to go there because his parents and other relatives were buried there. Small town, Mountain Lake, Minnesota. And when he found his own marker that he had purchased and had prepared ahead of time, the epitaph was "Till He Comes." And he said, "Does Mom know about this?" He got very, very excited about reading "Till He Comes." And that was all he would talk about for the next couple of hours. We went home and had lunch, and he told my mother about this "Till He Comes," and Jesus was coming back soon. And anyways, so that inspired me to one Easter, the following Easter, to arrange "He Lives" and put part of it in a ragtime. And I like to retitle it "The Cemetery Rag."
Fantastic.
Because there can be joy in a cemetery. That's about the only time I've experienced it, but I would say there will again be joy in the cemetery.
Fantastic. So you're going to play it for us?
If I could?
Yes, please. that hymn is very dear to me. That was one of my mother's favorites, and she requested that we sing it at her funeral.
Is that right?
So we did it here, and it was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just thank you. Play something else, because I'm going to have to get myself together.
Sure enough.
Absolutely fantastic, Henry. You know, you played my mother's favorite hymn, now you've played my grandmother's favorite hymn. For 500, Alex, what do you think my grandfather's favorite hymn was? There's only 3 possibilities that it could be.
How great thou art.
You guessed it. How did you know? It seems like those old gospel hymns, those are the ones that everybody remembers. And
I figure I, like you, heard them in utero. I started learning them in utero, right?
You know, it's funny. My mom would always tell the story. I was a very early reader, and you know, she used to tell people that I had the Lord's Prayer memorized at 12 months, and that I would, you know, she prayed with me every night before bed, and we had, you know, our rotation of prayers that we did, and we had to do them in a certain order, you know, and
Sure.
and so she would tell people that I you know, knew the Lord's Prayer at 12 months, and I was reading by the time I was, you know, 24 months or so. But yeah, those hymns are imprinted in our DNA.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that was just an amazing rendition. Any other stories from your childhood or anything that you want to share with us?
Nothing leaps to mind.
Nothing leaps to mind?
Nothing leaps to mind.
If you don't mind me asking about your studies, you majored in theory, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And that's at the University of Minnesota.
Right.
And so, what did that look like for you?
What did that do for me? I'll back up a step and say, after graduating in Michigan with a math degree, I really felt God calling me to music ministry, and my wife and I, we got married at 20. We got on a converted Trailways bus and traveled the country for 3 years, pretty much did a church every night in a nursing home or a prison during the day, that kind of thing. And during that time, I had the opportunity to record where there was a professional arranger from Colorado in the studio in Twin Cities, where he had actually orchestrated things. And that was the first time I'd seen that up close. and I realized I would like to be able to orchestrate, and so I decided to major in theory and composition so I could study. Well, I mean, first of all, I just inquired. I said, I want to study orchestration. And I said, well, the only way you can do that is do our theory and composition program. So, yeah, that's what I ended up at the University of Minnesota doing that. And I worked as a studio musician in the Twin Cities for 20 years, worked with hundreds of artists and a lot of stuff. Yeah. First I thought I was going to be pegged as a country player, but I did manage to break out of that.
Really?
Because that was kind of the first thing that some folks heard me do, that they said, oh, you do country really well, let's do that. I said, well, I like country, but that's not the only thing I like.
Yeah, right. Well, so who is your favorite composer?
Oh, definitely Bach.
Bach, yeah. Bach is more jazz than Baroque almost. I mean, honestly, some of the chords that he came up with were hundreds of years ahead of his time. And just the ability to sit down and improvise. I improvise. I don't improvise 4-part fugues, that's for sure.
No, I don't. I heard a story that Rimsky-Korsakov used to write a fugue before breakfast every day to keep his mind sharp.
Oh, I can't say I do that before breakfast. Maybe after breakfast. Yes. That's absolutely fantastic. Do you have another piece for us?
Yeah, slow it down a little bit more, but a hymn that means a great deal to me, again, as great as thy faithfulness.
Oh, fantastic. It's amazing to hear someone with such vast music theory knowledge and the chops to back it up. And Henry, you're just a gift to the world. Thank you so much for bringing us your music today. Folks, if you're at home watching and you like what you're hearing, make sure you hit share. I've posted a link to contribute to the music fund if you would like. But Henry, if you don't mind, I'm going to take just a minute to plug our next missions initiative that we are doing here at the church. Pastor Dennis made a mention about flood buckets last week in his Wednesday message, and then we had an announcement that went out in church on Sunday. And yesterday he posted yet again another, like an infographic about what you can do to donate for the flood buckets. But I received a call from Amy Kavickia at the CCD, and they are desperately low on cereal. So we are going to be doing another cereal drive starting tomorrow morning. We have a little under 2 weeks, right, Pat, until August 9th, a little under 2 weeks to try to get 300 boxes of cereal. Church, we've done this in the past now 3 times. We can bless them again. So I encourage you, please, to, as you're out shopping, pick up a normal size box of cereal. They fit better in the boxes that we pack. So just a normal size box of cereal. Thank you for the family packs. Those have gone a very long way. But they're very hard to pack in the boxes. So if you can pick up an extra box or 2 or 20 or 50 of cereal, we would really, really appreciate it as we bless the Coriopolis community development with another cereal drive. The library table will be out in Pastor Dennis's garage tomorrow morning, and every day up until probably the 8th of August. So we encourage you to contribute that way as well. Henry, do you have another piece for us?
I'll give it a try. I've had a few train wrecks practicing this, but it's a new arrangement. I've put together a
That's
couple
when you say it's improvisation.
Right. That's right. Then you have to find your way out of the corner you put yourself into.
You know, Pat actually heard me. I taught an improvisation class yesterday on Zoom, of all things, to about 20 kids. And it was interesting. I said to them, you know, who in here likes to solve problems? And only a couple of hands went up, and I said, okay, who likes to ride roller coasters? And every hand went up, and I said, that's kind of what improvisation is like, you know. Going up the hill, you've got the excitement of, am I going to make it, you know? And then once you start that first hill, it's all downhill from there, right? So is this going to be the last piece you play for us?
Yeah.
Okay, Henry, thank you so much for being here with us. Folks at home, Henry, tell them once again where they can stream your music.
Sharingcomfort.com.
Sharingcomfort.com. And all of his music is there to stream for free. You are a gift. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This will be a medley of a couple spirituals. Every time I feel the Spirit, and it's me. I'll know it when I get there. I'm sorry. I might just.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's silly.
a smile on my face this entire time. What a joy it has been.
Thank
So
you.
nice to meet you. And please, if you liked what you heard at home, make sure you tell others about our series. All of our recitals are hosted on our church Facebook page. We're going to work on getting a YouTube page and port them all over. Henry, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for
This
inviting
has
me.
just been a real treat. So, folks, this is the end. It's like time to say goodbye. This is our last scheduled recital, but stay tuned because we will have some special offerings coming to you monthly in this virtual format. So I'm going to get started on that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and once again, Henry, thank you so much for being
Well, thanks
with
for
us.
having me. It's been great.